The alien market was loud, full of voices, full of strange smells and lights. Creatures from many worlds moved in the crowd. Some came to buy, some came only to watch. But tonight something unusual was on display. On the high wooden stage stood a girl, thin, fragile, her skin pale under the harsh lamps, her left leg missing from the knee down. She leaned on a broken stick. Her eyes tried to look strong, but inside they held fear and shame. She was young, but her life already looked older than her years. The auctioneer, a tall alien with sharp teeth, raised his voice. Here she is, the alien girl. She offers herself for sale. She wants nothing but enough money for a prosthetic leg, a new limb, a chance to walk again. His words echoed across the market, but instead of pity, the crowd answered with cruel laughter. Who would buy such a broken thing? One alien whispered. She is not a fighter. She is not beautiful. She is half a person, another shouted. Her value is less than a piece of metal scrap. The voices mixed with laughter. The girl's hands trembled on the stick, but she did not cry. She forced herself to stand tall, even when her pride was bleeding inside. The auctioneer banged the hammer. Starting price, 10 credits. Silence answered. 5 credits. Still silence. He grinned with sharp teeth. 1 credit then. Come on. Surely someone wants her, even as a servant, even as a joke. The girl closed her eyes. She thought of her past. Once she had a family, a home, a city full of light. Then war came, fire and smoke. She lost her parents, her brothers, her leg. She survived, but survival felt heavier than death. Now she had only one hope, to sell herself, to find a way to stand again. But the market told her she was worth nothing. She whispered inside her heart, maybe I truly am nothing. The auctioneer was about to dismiss her, his voice mocking. Looks like no one wants the broken alien girl. The crowd roared with laughter, and for the first time her head lowered. She felt invisible, useless, her hope cracked. But then, a deep voice came from the back, steady and calm. I will buy her. The crowd turned. Silence replaced laughter for a moment. Standing there was a human, tall, with tired eyes but a strong presence. His clothes were simple, a soldier's jacket, a scar across his cheek. He did not look rich. He did not look powerful, but his voice carried weight. The auctioneer blinked, surprised. You? A human? You want her? The human nodded once, without shame. Yes. He placed a small coin on the table, far less than the price of weapons or slaves usually sold there, but more valuable because of the way he gave it, with meaning, not mockery. The crowd erupted again, mocking louder than before. The human buys trash. He must be desperate. What will he do with such a useless thing? But the human ignored them, his eyes never leaving the girl on stage. The girl looked back at him, her heart racing. She could not understand. No one had looked at her like that. Not with pity, not with cruelty, but with something else, something she had almost forgotten. Respect, she whispered, her voice shaking. Why me? The human answered with simple words, because you are not trash. The auctioneer shrugged. He did not care. Money was money. He pushed the girl forward. She is yours then, human. May she not slow you down. His laughter mixed with the crowd, but the girl did not hear them anymore. Her ears were full of the human's words. As she stepped off the stage, her stick shaking, she realized her life had changed. Not fully, not completely, but something had shifted. A door had opened. The market behind them roared on. But in her heart, silence grew, a silence that carried hope, fear, and questions. Who was this? Human. Why would he choose her? What did he see that no one else did? Her journey, once broken, had just begun, and in that moment, the world held its breath. The market lights flickered as the human led the alien girl away, the crowd still buzzing behind them, their laughter echoing like poison in the air. But the man's hand was steady on her shoulder, guiding her through the shadows. The girl leaned on her stick, her body weak, her mind full of storm. She could not believe what had just happened. One moment she was nothing but shame on a stage. The next moment she was walking beside a stranger, a human. Her heart beat fast, fear and hope mixing like fire and water. She had sold herself, yet this man did not act like a master. He did not chain her. He did not drag her. Instead, he slowed his steps so she could keep up. Finally, when the noise of the market grew faint, she whispered, "Why did you buy me?" Her voice was thin, trembling, almost lost in the night air. The human looked down at her, his face calm, his scar catching the moonlight. "Because no one else did," he answered, "and because you are worth more than their laughter." She blinked, confused. "But I am broken," she said, her words heavy. "I have no leg, no family, no power, nothing to give." He shook his head slowly. "You are alive, and that is something. Sometimes that is everything." The girl stared at him, trying to read his eyes, but his gaze was deep, like a soldier who had seen too much. like someone carrying his own secrets. She wondered if he too was broken in ways unseen. They walked through narrow streets, alien neon glowing on wet stone, creatures of all shapes passing by. Some glanced at the pair, sneering at the sight of the girl. Others whispered about the human, rare and strange in this world. But he did not care. He walked as if the whole city meant nothing. When they reached a small, quiet shelter at the edge of the district, he pushed open the door. Inside was simple: a table, 2 chairs, a cot. Nothing grand, but safe. He gestured. "Sit, rest." The girl hesitated, expecting orders, expecting cruelty, but he simply handed her food, warm bread and water. Her hands shook as she took it. It had been so long since anyone gave her something without asking in return. As she ate, her eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. She asked again, "Who are you?" He leaned back in his chair, silent for a long moment, then answered, "A soldier, nothing more." "Why are you here?" she pressed. "Because wars end, but scars remain," he said softly, his words heavy, his eyes far away. "I lost people too. I lost home. Maybe I am not different from you." The girl listened, and for the first time in years, she felt something stir inside, connection, but she also felt doubt. "What will you do with me?" she whispered. "You paid for me. I am yours." The human's jaw tightened, his voice firm. "You are not mine. You belong to yourself. I only gave you a chance. What you do with it is your choice." Her chest tightened. She had never heard such words. In her world, slaves were slaves. The weak belonged to the strong. Yet this man spoke as if freedom was possible. She could not understand, but her heart wanted to believe. That night, as she lay on the cot, staring at the ceiling, she thought of his words, "Because you are worth more." They repeated in her mind like a song, but deep inside, fear still whispered. What if he was lying? What if tomorrow he sold her again? What if kindness was just another mask? She hugged her stick close, her only weapon, her only defense, and promised herself she would not trust too quickly. But sleep came anyway, heavy and dark, carrying her into dreams she had long forgotten, dreams of walking again. The human sat by the table, watching the door, awake, silent, his hand resting on an old weapon, his eyes never closing. The night was dangerous, and he knew someone might come. And indeed, outside in the streets, whispers already spread. The human bought the broken alien girl. Criminals and hunters laughed. Easy prey, weak, useless, he will regret it. But others frowned. A human who protects an alien? That is dangerous. The storm had only begun. Inside the small room, 2 souls scarred by war rested, one in doubt, one in silence, neither knowing that their paths had already bound together, neither knowing the danger waiting beyond the door. But for that one night, the girl was not on a stage, not an object of shame. She was simply a person, given bread, given shelter, given a chance. And in her heart, a small light returned, a light she thought was gone forever. The girl woke early, the pale light of dawn slipping through the cracks of the old shelter. For a moment she forgot where she was, her hand reaching for the empty space where her legs should have been. Then memory returned, the stage, the laughter, the human. She sat up slowly, her stick leaning against the wall. The room was quiet. The human was there, still awake, sitting in the same chair as if he had not moved all night, his eyes heavy but alert, his hand resting near his weapon. "Did you not sleep?" she asked softly, her voice rough from silence. He shook his head once. "Not my habit anymore." She studied him, wondering what kind of man stayed awake just to guard a stranger. Her chest felt tight, confusion and gratitude battling inside her. The silence stretched until the human finally spoke, his tone steady. "Tell me your story, girl. I want to know who you are, not what they called you." Her throat closed. She had kept her story buried, hidden under shame, but something in his voice, firm yet gentle, broke the wall she had built. She looked down at her hands, scarred and thin, and began. "I was born on a planet called Cyril," she whispered. "It was not rich, but it was beautiful. Green fields, silver rivers, skies full of stars." Her lips trembled. "My family farmed the land. We had little, but we had peace." Her eyes filled as she continued. "Then the war came. Ships darkened the skies. Fire fell. Our cities burned. Soldiers stormed our homes." Her voice cracked. "I was only 15. I saw my parents die. I saw my brothers fight and fall. I ran, but a blast caught me. It took my leg. It took everything." The human's eyes did not move. He listened without a word, his face calm but his jaw tight. "I crawled from the ruins, alone," she said, her voice trembling. "For days I begged for help. Some gave scraps, most turned away. I learned quickly, no one wants a broken girl." Her hands shook as she spoke. "So I decided, if no one would help, I would sell myself. At least then I could buy a leg." At least then I could stand again, even if I was never free. Her words fell heavy in the small room. Silence followed. The girl lowered her head, ashamed of the truth she carried, ashamed of her weakness. But the human leaned forward, his voice low, steady. You lived through fire, through war, through hunger, and you call that weakness? He shook his head. No, that is strength, more strength than most soldiers I have known. Her eyes widened. No one had ever spoken to her like that. No one had ever seen her scars as anything but failure. She whispered, strength. The word felt strange on her tongue. He nodded once. Do not let them define you by what you lost. You are more than your missing leg, more than their laughter. You are still standing, and that is enough. Her heart ached because she wanted to believe him, but years of rejection weighed her. Evie, you speak like you know, she said, her voice small. Did you lose too? The human's eyes darkened. He looked away for the first time, his voice softer now. Yes. She waited, but he did not explain, and she did not push. She could see the shadows in his gaze, deep scars hidden behind silence, scars he was not ready to share. For a long moment they sat together, two survivors, bound not by blood but by pain. The girl's chest lifted with a breath she did not know she was holding. For the first time, telling her story did not make her feel smaller. It made her feel lighter, like a heavy stone had rolled off her heart. But even as she sat there, a quiet fire burning in her chest, outside the city was already moving. Whispers spreading, rumors growing. Word of the human who bought the broken alien girl reached dangerous ears. In a hidden corner of the district, men with hard eyes and sharp blades spoke in hushed voices. He is just one man, a human no less, weak and out of place, one sneered. And she is nothing, a cripple, worthless. Another grinned, easy prey, easy money. We take her, and maybe we sell him too. The danger crept closer, though neither the girl nor the human knew it yet. Inside the shelter, the girl touched her empty side, imagining the leg she had lost, imagining the life she had once lived, and for the first time in years she wondered, could she truly walk again, not only with a prosthetic, but with pride, with purpose? The human glanced at her, reading the question in her eyes though she did not speak. His voice was steady. We will find a way. She nodded, tears gathering, not of shame this time, but of something new, something fragile, hope. The sun climbed slowly over the alien city, its light turning the metal towers gold and the streets alive with sound. The girl stepped out of the small shelter, leaning on her stick, her body weak but her eyes more awake than before. Beside her walked the human, tall, steady, his scar catching the light like a mark of survival. For the first time in many years, she was not walking alone, yet every step felt uncertain. She wondered if she should trust him. She wondered if this strange journey had meaning, or if she would soon be abandoned again. The streets were crowded, merchants shouted, machines hummed, creatures of every shape pushed through the flow. Some glanced at the human and the girl, their looks sharp, mocking, curious. Whispers followed them. That is the broken alien girl, and the human who bought her. The words cut like knives, but the human did not react. His face calm, his steps steady. The girl lowered her head, shame rising, but then she noticed something. When the crowd pushed, the human moved closer, creating space for her. When the stones under her stick slipped, his hand reached out, steadying her without a word. He did not look at her with pity. He acted as if helping her was natural, as if she was not weak at all. After a long silence, she whispered, "Why do you walk with me? Why not send me away?" He looked down at her, his voice steady. "Because you deserve more than a cage, more than a stage. If you want to find a new life, then I will walk with you until you do." Her chest tightened. The words were simple, yet they felt heavy. No one had ever promised her such a thing. They left the noisy district and moved into quieter streets. Narrow alleys glowing with strange signs. Neon lights painted their faces in blue and red. The air smelled of oil and smoke. The girl struggled with each step, sweat on her forehead, but she kept going, refusing to fall. At one point she stopped, leaning against a wall, her breathing hard. "You should leave me," she said, shame filling her voice. "I am too slow. I am too weak." The human turned, his eyes sharp. "If I wanted fast, I would walk alone, but I chose to walk with you, so I walk at your pace." Her throat closed, tears burning. She turned her face away. Hiding them, As the day passed, they reached the edge of the city. Here the streets were rougher, broken stone, crumbling walls, fewer lights, fewer people, the kind of place where danger grew like weeds. The human's eyes scanned the shadows, his hand near his weapon. The girl felt the air grow colder, her skin prickling with warning. She leaned closer to him without thinking. Then voices came, rough and mocking. "Well, what do we have here?" Figures stepped from the darkness. 3 men armed with blades and cruel smiles. The human and his crippled pet. The girl froze, her stick trembling in her hand. Memories of the market, of laughter, of cruelty filled her mind. The human stepped forward, placing himself between her and the men, his voice calm. "We are only passing." The leader laughed, sharp and cruel. "Not anymore, you bought trash. Now we will take it from you. Maybe sell the girl again, maybe sell you too." His men laughed, circling. The girl whispered, "Run, leave me, they only want me." Her heart pounded with fear, but the human shook his head, his voice firm. "No, they will not touch you." In one swift motion he drew his weapon. The men lunged, steel flashing, the alley filled with the clash of blades. The human moved with the precision of a soldier, each strike controlled, each block sharp, his scarred face calm even in chaos. The girl clung to her stick, helpless, watching as he fought, fear and awe mixing inside her. She had seen soldiers before, but none who fought like him, not for money, not for power, but for someone else, for her. Within minutes, the men lay defeated, groaning on the ground, the leader spitting blood. "You will regret this, human. You cannot protect her forever." Then they crawled away into the shadows, their threats hanging in the air. The alley grew quiet again, the girl's chest heaving, her hands shaking. The human lowered his weapon. Apin turning back to her, his voice steady. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head, her voice breaking. Why do you risk yourself for me?" He looked at her, his eyes tired but firm. "Because you are not a burden, because no one should face the world alone." Tears spilled down her cheeks. She tried to wipe them, ashamed, but he said nothing, only waited, letting her cry, letting her release years of pain. When her sobs finally faded, she whispered, "I thought I was nothing. I thought I was only broken." His voice was steady. "You are not broken. You are surviving, and that is not nothing." The girl looked at him, her heart trembling, something inside her shifting. For the first time in years, she did not feel like an object. She felt like a person. Together they walked on, the alley behind them, the city stretching ahead, the girl's steps slow but stronger than before. And though danger still followed, though shadows whispered of more trials to come, in her chest a fragile fire burned. The journey had only begun, but already she was no longer walking in shame, she was walking with him. The night came heavy over the alien city. Shadows stretched long across the broken streets. The girl and the human found another shelter, an old building with cracked walls and a roof barely holding. Inside the air was damp and cold, but it was quiet, safer than the alleys they had left. The girl sat on the floor, her stick resting beside her, her body tired, her mind still shaken by the fight. She kept replaying the moment when the men attacked, the sound of blades, the human standing in front of her. She had expected him to run, but he did not. He fought for her, and that truth burned inside her chest like a strange new fire. The human sat near the door, always watching, his weapon across his knees, his scar sharp in the dim light. He did not speak much, but his silence weighed. As not cold, it was heavy, protective, the kind of silence that made her feel safe. Yet outside, in the dark corners of the city, the story of the human and the broken alien girl spread like smoke. The men who had lost to him did not forget. They carried their shame into the taverns and the black markets, whispering about revenge, whispering about profit. "He humiliated us," one spat. "We will gather more. We will break him and take the girl," another grinned. "The girl may be crippled, but a slave is still worth coin, and a human even more." Their voices carried like poison, their plans shaping like knives in the night. The girl could not hear those whispers, but in her heart she felt unease, as if danger still followed. She whispered into the silence, "They will come again, won't they?" The human's eyes narrowed, but his voice stayed calm. "Yes, they will." Her hands trembled. "Why not leave me then, if I am the reason?" His gaze stayed steady on her. "Because running from what hunts you only makes it stronger. If they come, we face them together." The word together made her chest tighten. She hugged her arms around herself. The thought of standing beside someone, not alone, was strange. It frightened her, but it also warmed her. That night, sleep came slowly. She drifted in and out, her dreams full of fire and screams from her past. Then the image of the human's hand pulling her from the stage, the sound of his voice, "You are not trash." Her dreams twisted between nightmare and hope. In the deep hours, footsteps moved outside the shelter. Whispers crawled along the walls. The human's eyes opened instantly, his hand tightening on his weapon. He had felt this before, the air before a fight, the silence that comes before violence. The girl stirred, sensing his tension. "What is it?" she whispered. He raised a hand, signaling her to stay quiet, his body tense, ready. Then the door creaked, and shadows moved inside. 5 figures this time. It's armed and grinning, the leader sneered. "We warned you, human, now you pay." The girl's heart pounded, her stick clutched in her hands, fear freezing her body. The human stood, calm, his voice low. "Leave or regret it." They laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. "You cannot fight us all." But the human's eyes were like stone, unshaken. "Watch me." The fight exploded, blades clashing, fists striking, the room filled with noise and movement. The human moved with precision, his body strong despite exhaustion. Each strike aimed to end the threat quickly, but there were too many, and the girl knew it. Her breath caught in her throat, panic rising. She wanted to run, but her legs betrayed her. She wanted to hide, but something inside her screamed louder. Not again, not like the war, not like before. She could not watch everyone die while she did nothing. Her hands tightened on her stick, and when one of the attackers moved toward her, grinning, she swung with all her strength. The wood cracked against his face. He stumbled back, shocked. The human glanced at her just for a second, and in his eyes she saw pride, real pride, not pity. The fight raged on, bruises and blood painting the floor, but at last the attackers fell back, beaten, dragging their wounded out into the night, their threats spilling like venom. "This is not over, human. More will come, stronger than us. You cannot protect her forever." Then they vanished into the shadows. The girl collapsed to her knees, her stick falling beside her, her chest heaving, tears burning her eyes. I hit him," she whispered, almost in disbelief. The human knelt beside her, his voice steady. "Yes, you did." Her tears spilled, but they were not only fear, they were something else, something sharp and bright. "For once I was not useless," she whispered. He met her eyes, his scarred face firm. "You were never useless." The words cut through her like light. She wanted to believe, she wanted to hold on to them, even as fear still whispered inside her. Because the truth was clear now, the threat was real, the danger was growing. They were being hunted, not just by thieves, but by something larger, something that would not stop until they were broken. And yet, as she sat trembling, the human's hand steady on her shoulder, she felt a strange certainty. She was not alone anymore, even if the world turned against them. Even if more enemies came, she had someone who saw her as more than broken. The night pressed on, heavy with silence, but in her heart a fire burned, fragile yet unyielding. The threat had awakened, and so had she. The morning came slow, the light creeping through the cracks of the broken shelter. The girl sat awake long before the sun rose, her body tired, her hands still shaking from the fight. She remembered the way her stick had struck the attacker, the shock in his eyes, the pride in the human's face. She touched the scar on her heart that was not visible, the scar of shame, the scar of years being called worthless, and for the first time she wondered, was I wrong? Maybe I am not nothing. The human moved quietly near the door, checking his weapon, checking the street beyond, his movements calm, careful, like a man who had lived too long with danger. He turned and saw her watching, his scar catching the weak light. "You should rest more," he said, his voice steady. She shook her head. "I cannot. My mind will not stop." He studied her a moment, then sat near her, close but not too close, giving her space, his voice calm. "Then speak, sometimes words are lighter when shared." She bit her lip, her heart heavy. "Why do you help me?" she asked. "I am nothing to you. I am a stranger, broken, hunted. Why risk so much?" His eyes did not turn away. "Because I know what it means to lose everything. Because I know the weight of being left behind." Her chest tightened. "So I am only a memory to you, so me own to replace what you lost." "No," he said firmly. "You are not a shadow of my past. You are yourself, and that is enough." Her eyes stung with tears, her heart pulled in 2 directions. One side wanted to believe, the other side screamed in fear. Fear of being abandoned again, fear of being betrayed. She whispered, "What if tomorrow you change your mind? What if you grow tired of me? Everyone does." His voice was steady, sharper now. "I will not. Not unless you tell me to leave." Her breath caught, the words too heavy to accept. Trust was not easy. Trust was a cliff she had fallen from before, and yet his voice was like stone, unshaken. They left the shelter as the sun rose higher, the city already alive, the streets filled with voices and machines. The girl leaned on her stick, her steps slow but steady. The human walked at her side, their shadows stretching together across the ground. They passed merchants shouting, children running, soldiers watching. Everywhere the whispers followed. That is the girl, the broken one, and the human who protects her. The words stung, but each time she lowered her head, the human spoke softly. Do not listen. They only speak because they fear what they do not understand. Her heart stirred, but doubt remained. The choice of trust was like a heavy lock on her chest. Later, they stopped by a fountain in the city square, water glowing under alien light. The girl sat on the stone edge, her leg aching, her body weary. The human stood nearby, always scanning the crowd. She looked at her reflection in the water, pale, thin, scarred, and whispered, I see nothing worth saving. The human turned, his voice firm. Then look again. He pointed at her reflection. I see someone still alive when many are not. Someone who faced war and still breathes. Someone who stood against fear last night. You struck your enemy when you But you could not. Do not say you are nothing. Her hands shook, her throat tight. Why do you speak like that? Why do you see something no one else sees? His eyes softened. Because it is real, and because you deserve to hear it, even if you do not yet believe it. She pressed her hand to her chest, her heart beating fast. The words cut through her like light through darkness, but trust was still a mountain she had not climbed. As the day passed, they walked farther, the city's edge coming into view, wide gates leading to the wastelands beyond. The girl hesitated, fear tightening her stomach. If we leave, there will be no safety, no walls, only danger. The human looked at her, his voice steady. Safety is not behind walls. Safety is in standing with someone who will not leave you, but it is your choice. If you wish to stay, I will stay. If you wish to go, I will go with you. Her breath trembled. His words pressed the weight of decision onto her. Not forced, not demanded, but offered. She closed her eyes, memories rushing. Her family gone, the war, the laughter of the crowd, the loneliness of nights begging for food, the shame of selling herself. And now this man who fought for her, who spoke to her like she mattered. The choice burned inside her, trust or fear, hope or despair. At last she opened her eyes, tears spilling, her voice trembling. I want to go, but only if you promise. Promise you will not leave me. The human's voice was firm as stone. I promise. Her chest broke open with relief and fear all at once. But she nodded, gripping her stick tight, her choice made, her path set. Together they stepped through the gates, the city falling behind them, the wasteland stretching wide ahead. The girl's steps were slow but stronger, her heart heavy but no longer alone. The choice of trust was made, fragile but real, and in that choice, a new future began to breathe. The wasteland stretched wide, endless stone and sand glowing under the pale sky. Broken machines lay half buried, ruins of a war long past. The girl leaned on her stick, each step heavy. The human walked beside her, his eyes always moving, scanning for danger. For days they traveled, resting under shadows of fallen towers, drinking from cracked wells, eating little yet moving forward. The girl's body ached, but her spirit was different now, lighter, steadier, because each time she thought she would fall, he was there, his hand ready, his presence firm. Still, the words of their enemies followed her. He cannot protect you forever. Whispers of doubt pressing against her choice. But with every mile, the human's promise echoed louder. I will not leave you. At last, they reached a hidden outpost, small and old, built of steel and stone, guarded by humans. The sight made the girl freeze. She had not seen more of his kind before. The guards raised their weapons, but when they saw his face, they lowered them, respect in their eyes. You survived, one said. We thought you were lost. The human only nodded, leading the girl inside. The outpost was filled with strange machines, glowing lights, and the sound of work. It smelled of oil and medicine. The girl looked around, her heart racing. This place felt different, not cruel like the markets, not mocking like the streets. It felt alive with purpose. The human guided her to a small room where a doctor waited, human as well, his hands steady, his eyes sharp. So this is the one, he said, studying her. The girl you chose. She froze at the words, shame rising, but the human spoke before she could, his voice firm, not chosen as property, chosen as worth saving. The doctor nodded, beginning his work. Machines scanned her body, lights passing over her scarred skin. She held her breath, her hands gripping the cot, fear and hope twisting inside. Finally, the doctor spoke. We can make the prosthetic. It will not be easy. It will take time, but she can walk. Again, her heart stopped. Tears filled her eyes. Truly, she whispered. Yes, the doctor said, but it is more than metal and wires. It will demand strength. It will demand will. The girl turned to the human, her eyes wide. Do you think I can? He met her gaze without doubt. I know you can. The days that followed were hard, harder than she imagined. The prosthetic was built and fitted, sleek metal and strong design. When she first tried to stand, her body shook. She fell. Pain shot through her. Shame threatened to drown her again. I cannot, she cried, tears burning her face. But the human was there, lifting her gently, his voice steady. Then you try again. She tried and fell again and again. Each time the pain cut deeper. Each time she wanted to give up. But each time he repeated the same words. Again. And slowly, step by step, her body learned. The pain did not vanish, but her will grew. Her balance returned. One day she stood without falling. Another day she took 2 steps, then 3, her stick resting forgotten in the corner. The first time she walked across the room alone, her heart broke open. She laughed and cried together, her voice shaking. I am walking. I am walking. The human stood nearby, his face calm, but his eyes carried pride, the same pride she had seen in battle. Only now it was brighter. Weeks passed, her steps grew stronger, her body steadier, and with each step, the shame that had chained her for years began to break. Yet danger was not gone. Shadows still lingered, enemies still whispered, and one night, news came. Raiders planned to strike the outpost, the same ones who had hunted them before, stronger, armed, ready to burn. Fear returned, heavy and sharp. The girl trembled. They will come for me. I am the reason. Maybe I should run. The human shook his head, his voice like steel. No, they do not come for you alone. They come because they fear what you now are, and running will not save. You! Her heart pounded. She wanted to hide. But then she looked at her new leg, shining under the dim light, and she remembered the stage, the laughter, the moment no one wanted her, except him, and how he fought for her, believed in her. This time, she whispered, then I will not run. The night of the attack came. Fire lit the sky. Raiders stormed the gates. But she did not hide. She stood with the soldiers, her body trembling, her heart wild, but her steps firm, prosthetic strong beneath her. The battle roared. The human fought at the front, fierce and unyielding. And when one raider broke through toward her, she lifted a weapon, her hands shaking, but she struck, not with fear, but with will. When the fight ended, the outpost still stood, smoke rising, bodies fallen, but victory was theirs, and she was still standing. The soldiers cheered, but her eyes searched only for him, the human scarred and tired, but alive. When he looked at her, his words were simple. You see, you are not broken. Tears spilled, but her smile shone. No, she whispered. I am not broken. I am chosen. The wind carried her words into the night. The market, the laughter, the shame, all of it was behind her now. Ahead was a road unknown, but not alone, never alone again. Because no one had wanted the broken alien girl except him, and that had made all the difference.